What's going on, guys? It's Dave Mate from circleofdrink.com. Just back for another little guide on how to drink yerba mate the traditional way. Today we're going to focus on a question I've been receiving for some time now. Basically, people are asking, how long does the mate last while it's inside the gourd? Well, in order to answer that question, we have to go back to the basics. We have to remember that every single time that one mate has been completed, that is called a cycle. Now remember, when I use this word mate, I'm not just referring to the noun, the herb. I'm referring to, here, have a mate, have a cycle. When you pass the mate to someone, you say, here, have a mate. And in that context, mate just means finish the entire gourd, which I call a cycle. So every single time you pour water inside the gourd like this, inside the water hole, of course, try to keep this side dry, your mountain of mate. I've been drinking this mate for a couple hours now, so the whole thing is kind of collapsing, which is okay. That technique is called flooding the mate. But today, we're just focused on the mate cycle. Every single time you add the water and you drink it to completion, you have just completed a cycle. Now, the simple answer is you could drink this mate for as long as you want. You could just make a mate in the morning, fill it up with whatever sherbet that you want, keep on adding water to it, and over time it's going to become what you say in Spanish, lavado, which means washed, tasteless. Personally, I like that sort of tastelessness. I like that subtlety when the mate becomes weaker over time. Some people, particularly in Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, they don't really like it that much. After the mate becomes somewhat weakened, they just discard the whole thing. So it's really personal preference. But I'm going to give you some basic guidelines. Mate usually has 3 different cycles. It has a short cycle, a medium cycle, and a long cycle. Now, the way that I have determined cycle lengths is basically by using a liter thermos. So, for instance, this thermos right here, just imagine this was 1 liter. It's really 1.9 liters, but imagine this was 1 liter. Now, a mate that holds its taste well for the entire liter, the entire time you're drinking yerba mate from this liter, that is called a long cycle mate. That mate usually is a full-bodied mate. It's a strong mate. It's a mate that really holds its flavor well. Some examples would be Canarias, Rosa Mate, Taragüí, Mission, etc. Now, a mate that only holds its taste for about, let's say, half of the thermos is said to have a medium cycle. Okay, some examples would be, let's say, Cruz de Malta, various Paraguayan brands, maybe Selecta I would throw in there. What else? Probably brands like Sada, a Uruguayan brand. I would say that's about a medium cycle or so. And then mates that only hold their taste for about 1/3 of the liter are said to have a short cycle. Those mates would be things like Union Suave, Plachadito. One could even argue that Nobleza Gaucha, traditional, is a short cycle mate. So that's my guideline for cycle duration. Let's estimate that on a short cycle you could get about, let's say, 15 draws from your bombilla. About 15 times you could get out of this. From a medium cycle, you're going to get at least 20 to 30. And from a long cycle, you're going to get maybe 40, 50 different cycles, draws to its completion from the yerba mate. But remember, guys, this is all really subjective. It's up to your own taste. It's up to your own experience with the mate. Like I said, I like the entire degradation from, strong mate to a medium body mate to a light mate, something sort of like a white tea. So for me, I like that experience. I like going from the strength to the weak. Some people are not going to like that. It's really up to you. So how much mate can you drink? You could drink this gourd, the same gourd, all day long. Generally speaking, I like to switch my gourd, switch my mate after about 1 liter. So on average, I use 1 liter per mate. And of course, we haven't even gotten into hemisphere switching in this video. I made another video about a year or so ago called How to Hemisphere Switch. And that's a technique for prolonging the cycle. So imagine that, I just made this gourd and I had about 15 cycles already on this side. You could take out the bombilla, turn the gourd to the opposite direction, and put the bombilla in this side, and then begin your water hole here. That's called a bombilla hemisphere switch. It's a little technique to extend the cycle by preserving some dry yerba on one side called a mountain of mate. I'll put a link to that video as well. Alright guys, I hope this answered your question about mate cycles. You have short cycles, which last only 1/3 of a liter. You have medium cycles, which last about half of a liter. And then you have long cycles, which last an entire liter. The flavor is consistent. The flavor is still very present throughout the entire liter. That's for a long cycle. Alright guys, check me out at circleofdrink.com. We have all sorts of blends, mate bombillas, mate gourds, and of course, pure traditional organic yerba mate. Have a good one guys, take it easy. Ciao, peace, salud.